how the hell did the Raiders lose that game? And I know that Jeff Saturday has a significant history with the Colts as a player. Their play caller had never done it before, ever done it before. And I think the one thing that Saturday did significantly, other than just making the guys in the room believe him, was to go, from what I think, to Jim Irsay and say, we got to play Matt Ryan. I don't know what we're doing here, but you want to talk about what you wanted, how to win and what the locker room wants. This is what happens. But for Matt Ryan to rip off a 39-yard run on 3rd and 3 when the game is on the line, I don't know what the hell is happening in Vegas.
Right,
and
he went 17 miles an hour.
Look, man, I shouldn't. As a 53-year-old man with a lot of ish going on, who runs, once a year, I shouldn't comment. But so how did you interpret the comments from Derek Carr and what he had to say after the game and the vote of confidence that Josh McDaniels has? Walk me through that from your perspective.
No, man, I don't know what's going on there. I mean, obviously, not having Waller for stretches hurts. Obviously, not as good as we thought they were, period, but there's no way that they're this bad. And that ultimately falls on the shoulders of coaching and how you get these guys ready to play and prepare and motivate them. And, I also want to be fair to Josh in a little bit, because I think people looked at it like he was hopping into a sports car and just driving it off the lot because they were a playoff team last year. Like, they won a lot of close games last year. And they had a little magic and that whole thing, and they pulled together through some tough times and some tragedy and all that stuff. But that's a tough team. But I just think we overestimated their ceiling, myself included. And here they are, man, and it's tough. I mean, to lose that game to Indy with everything that people have been talking about. Listen, just because they won that game doesn't mean the hiring process is totally unorthodox and probably offended some longtime NFL coaches. I know there's this whole, victory lap that's being taken by some media members that seem to be pushing back on anybody who would be kind of a little bit confused by the hire. But you beat the Raiders. Now you're going to get the Eagles, and they're going to be pissed off this week. And they're having trouble stopping the run. So you want to prove to everybody, Jim, fans of the hire, that this is the right hire. Go do this. You know what I mean? I like Jeff Saturday, man. Like, you find me somebody on the planet that doesn't like Jeff Saturday, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I hope it works out. And, I do think that if there's anybody who can stick the landing on this thing, it might be him. Because ultimately, NFL coaches, they have a lot of decisions to make, more than people realize. But at the same time, if you have a certain level of humility, you can delegate. And I think that's what some coaches struggle to do, and I think it's their Achilles heel. So he might not have a big resume or a background, and hey, point stands. Like, that's a little jacked up for a lot of the guys in that locker room who've been sitting in training camp and all that stuff. And I think there is some validity to some of these monologues I've seen, albeit they're a little bit dramatic, right? But Jeff Saturday, if he can delegate and he can be humble, he might have a leg up on some of these lifetime coaches, that say, hey, that's not my area. And I'm going to delegate this to this offensive coordinator, this defensive coordinator. And I know the value of the coaches I have in the room. If he can do that, they're going to have a fighting chance, because they're playing Matt Ryan. Like you said, that's the biggest thing. And, that's also interesting because they're risking $17 million.
No question. And I was kind of surprised that he was warming up and then got the start, because I thought that was the reason why. I mean, if you're Frank Reich, you're like, really? You're playing him now? Like, really? Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
And that may have been Jeff Saturday's most important contribution to the 2022 Colts right off the bat. Is that he got Matt Ryan out of the mothballs that I thought he was going to be in for the rest of the time.
Absolutely. And one more thing, Rich, like, while we're on this this game between two sub-500 teams.
Sure. No, but it's a fascinating part of the week. That's for sure.
It really is. And it just keeps up, because I was talking to Robert Mathis Sunday night. He was in Vegas and we were doing my show, mm-hmm. and he joined us for a little bit. And I was expecting some canned answers on, this whole thing and Saturday, but he thinks that this is Irsay's way of begging Peyton to come home. Not begging, but trying to show Peyton that, like, there'd be a place for him in the front office or that sort of thing. So getting, your guys back. Hey, look, I'm hiring Jeff Saturday. Come home, Peyton. So that was an interesting take from Robert Mathis.
I don't know, man. Peyton Manning gets to call Monday Night Football games from his own bed, from his own house with his brother for his own production company. He doesn't pay a dime for the rights to do it. I mean,
the delay on that, it's really tough. He's got to be here. Do you know how tough that is to be on the Manning cast? Well, because you're on TV all the time, but like there's like a slight delay. There's three people talking. That's got to really wear on the guy.
Yeah, he has got the broadcast table wired, if you want to use a Vegas term right now. I don't know why he'd want to just go, unless he wants the challenge. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.